Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We'll get started here in just a moment. Just going to give it a little bit of time for everyone to be able to join the webinar. Just one moment. As everyone's getting logged into the webinar, just a couple of quick announcements. We will be recording the webinar today. So if we're going through anything and you're just not quite sure and maybe you missed something on screen, keep your eye out for that recording. I did just launch a quick couple question poll. If you don't mind, just taking a look at those, and they really do help us to understand a little bit more about how you guys are using Seguno and how we can help you out the best way. We'll be using the Q&A feature for any questions that you guys have today. So please do put those questions in the Q&A. They help me to be able to keep everything organized, so the chat will not be monitored. I will take a look back at the chat at the end of the session, but please use the Q&A feature if you have any questions. Again, we'll get started here in just another moment. I'm just going to give it a little bit more time for people to log in. All right, well, let's go ahead and we can get the ball rolling here. My name is Brian with Seguno, and I appreciate you guys joining. If you just joined a moment ago, just to let you guys know, we will be recording the session today, so that if you do need a recording to go back and reference anything later, you'll have access to that most likely this afternoon. We keep all of the recordings linked in the help topic where you guys were able to register for the webinar. So keep your eye out for that. It looks like everybody has answered the poll questions, so I do appreciate you guys taking a look at those. They help us to understand a little bit more about how you guys are using Seguno and how we can help you out the best. And if you have any questions as we're working our way through the introduction today, please do put those in the Q&A feature. The chat feature will not be monitored for questions during the webinar. I'll go back and take a look at it at the end, but if you have any questions, please do put those in the Q&A feature. So today's should be a fun topic for us. It looks like everybody has just recently installed Seguno, so it's the perfect topic for you guys, really with a nice broad introduction to the platform. We're going to talk about how Seguno works within Shopify, so we'll spend most of our time right here in the admin, or what they have started calling the Shopify back office. We're going to make sure that you guys are comfortable with your account setup, give you some tips and tricks, some pointers how to make sure that that is optimized for you. And then we'll spend most of our time talking about how to actually customize emails. So we'll talk briefly about the difference between newsletters and automations, and then give you a good overview of how we're going to build out some newsletters for today. And then finally, we will wrap up with reporting, making sure that you know where to go back and take a look at your metrics once you've been sending out of Seguno. So first things first, how does Seguno work with Shopify? When you guys installed the app, you noticed that we requested permissions for quite a bit of the back end. So I want to explain a little bit more about that and how we're using each part of it. We requested permissions to access your orders, your products, customers, marketing, discounts, and discounts all together that way. Now, the reason why we have most of those with the orders, we're actually able to go back and we can do things tied to post-purchase follow-up, but also looking into abandoned checkouts. So it's gonna be really important, especially with automation and timing. For your products, we're able to go back and reference all of the product data that you've already put in. And I'll show you a lot more about that when we actually go in and we start customizing the newsletters. So we can go and say, hey, I've got this product with this description and this price. And we can actually pull all that data straight from the products table or any of your collections and put that right into your template. For marketing, this is mostly tied to reporting. So we just want to make sure that Seguno falls in line with all of your other marketing events. And then discounts, we're actually able to pull in any of the discount codes that are active and reference those price rules and apply those for any links that people click. So it makes it really easy, especially when you have a discount code, that we can actually build a unique code from that so that your codes don't leak out onto Retail Me Not or anywhere other than where they're intended to go. And then we can also do some other more advanced things. I'll give you guys some more details on that in a moment. But the most important one here is actually going to be your customers. So Seguno does not maintain its own separate database of subscribers. What we actually do is look at your customers tab here, and we're really focused on that email subscription status. So you can have as many customer accounts as you want, but what Seguno is concerned about and how your pricing is only set up is based on what we see here with the subscribe status under email subscription. I apologize. This is just a demo account here for today. So a lot of these look a little bit like nonsense, but you can follow along in your own. But the other part of that is what we're going to be able to see here is with all these saved searches up here across the top. So rather than just say that I want to send to all subscribers all the time, I can actually be much more targeted and strategic about it by creating any of the saved searches using the different filters that we have here. And then Seguno will actually be able to go back and look those up and pull in the subscribers from that saved search. So the main thing I want to mention to you guys is just make sure that you use clear names, such as purchased in the last week or VIP. Awesome is fun, but it doesn't really tell me a lot about who those customers are. So just make sure that it's really clear and easy for you when we're actually going back to schedule newsletters or to exclude people from sends. You can have as many different ones as you want here. So no limit on that. And again, we're just looking at that subscribe status. If you're on the previous version of the Shopify admin, they have been making some UI changes. You might notice that as accepts email marketing, which will show up right here under the account. And you won't have that email marketing card yet, but they are rolling that out. So it'll look a little bit different here for you in a bit. So now that we understand how we're integrating with the Shopify admin, let's take a look at how we set up your account settings here. So I'm going to come into the app section over into Seguno, and we try to make a lot of this as easy as we did with the integration to access everything. So a lot of this is pre-built for you, but there's a couple of tips that I want to talk through. So let's come over to the settings section here. And the first thing that we have is our from name. Now, my from name, Madison Page, is actually the name of the demo storefront that I'm going to use. So keep your from name really nice and easy, branded, very consistent, so that when people look in their inbox, they understand and they expect who's sending, or they understand who's sending the messages to them. If you want to make it a little bit more personal, that's fine, but I wouldn't replace it completely with something different. Like I wouldn't put your full name in there. I would do something like Brian from Madison Page. So that way people can still see that the branding's right there and they're less likely to mark me as spam. Now with the from email address, for most of you guys, you're going to notice that your brand is right here again. And then over on the right-hand side, we have this at seguno-mail.com. This is what we call your sending domain or your authenticating domain, so that when you send a newsletter or an automated message off to the recipients, the Gmails and the Microsofts of the world say, hey, this looks great. Who's actually sending this? Who's vouching that this is not spam and has a good reputation? So right now you're set up to be able to leverage Seguno's reputation to get to your subscribers' inboxes. If you would like, you can actually authenticate your own domain. So rather than send from Seguno-mail, I could send from @madisonpage.com or whatever your brand name might be. It's a pretty quick update. You'll just need to log into either whoever your DNS host is. So whether that's GoDaddy or Shopify or Domains or whoever it might be, and you're going to go into your DNS settings, and then you just need to copy and paste the values that we have here into a TXT record and then also into a CNAME record like that. We are available for live chat if you have any issues working through this one. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit scary, a little bit daunting at first to take a look at, but it is actually, it's not that bad. It's just copy and paste in the settings. We're here to help you. So once I have that set up, what I'm gonna do instead of using Madison Page is actually info@, and then I would use info@madisonpage.com. But until then, I'm gonna stick with the branded one just to make it consistent there. Now with my reply email address, I do want that to also be a monitored address. So as exciting, and the idea is that you don't have to monitor those and you put in a no reply. This is actually can be pretty treacherous for you and result in a lot of spam complaints and people that are unhappy to receive your emails. And what I mean by that is when some people unsubscribe, rather than just click the nice big unsubscribe button that we put in the email, they'll actually just reply back to you and say, hey, unsubscribe me from your email. So if you're not watching for those, then the next time that happens, they're more likely to mark you as junk. And that's going to actually impact all of your subscribers, not just that one individual. So other than have a no reply, I'll typically use a marketing @ or an info @ some alias that then goes off into my own inbox. And then I'll check back on that before I send additional newsletters, so that if I do have any of those unsubscribe requests come through, I'll go ahead and get those processed. Of course, there's also going to be some valid requests that come through with that as well. For the test email recipients, this is more about who we're sending our email proofs to. So who do you trust to click on all the links and answer any, or give you any feedback on design, anything along those lines. Make sure that people that you have here, you do trust open on that they are going to spend the time to proofread it, click on all those links, and that they're going to open on their desktop and their mobile device. Over 50% of emails opened on mobile devices now, so make sure that those are great addresses for you to send to. If you don't have a team, go ahead and write up what we'll call a mini seed list. So create a Hotmail for yourself, a Gmail for yourself, an AOL or a Yahoo, and then put those down there for your test recipients to send to. For the company details, nothing too crazy here. Just make sure that this is a valid mailing address for CAN-SPAM compliance. If you don't have a brick and mortar and you have your home address listed here, you can update that to be a PO box or look into a virtual PO box. Completely up to you, but it does need to be a valid mailing address. And then if you're offering a customer service phone number, we'll go ahead and be able to put that in the footer of the email for you, which is really nice because we'll create that telephone link. So it's a nice, easy one touch to call out if they have any questions or they need to get in touch with you for anything. And then the last couple of things down here, just across the bottom, with the time format, this is just, do you want to include discount expiration dates as month, day, year, or are you in a region where you need to do day, month? So just put that in your local date format so that there's no confusion about when a discount code expires. And then for the preferred connections, these are just kind of some additional syncs and kind of backend things. So if you're coming from another email platform, you can actually, if you're coming from MailChimp, just go ahead and connect to your list here. And then we'll be able to pull over all of your subscribers from MailChimp directly that way. If you're coming from another platform, what you'll need to do is export your active subscribers from that platform. And then you're going to use the import template that we have here in Shopify. And then so you'll just import them directly as customers to Shopify. Make sure that you pay special attention to the accepts email marketing column and that you set that to lowercase YES. So just a couple of easier ways to be able to bring your existing list into Shopify and get that synced across. And then finally, for the Shopify product review section here, we can actually do product review reminders for all review applications, but with Shopify product reviews, we can actually put those star ratings directly into your email. And it's just a nice way to kind of enhance your product data that you have. Again, for all email app or all review apps, we'll be able to go back and send those review request reminders based on the order being fulfilled. But for Shopify product reviews app, which is one of their free apps, and one of their better ones, in my opinion, we'll actually be able to pull those star ratings into the email. Now, before we get into the actual content here, there's one more section that I want to mention to you guys. This is especially important if English is not the primary language or if you ever need to translate any of your forms. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we hit save up here across the top so that we don't lose any of our work. And then we're going to bounce over to the content section. And there are a couple of forms and common phrases that we need to address. So here under the pages, we have a newsletter form and an unsubscribe form. Seguno builds both of these out and hosts them on your own website so that it's nice in line with your own shopping experience. I actually took this one and I added it to my navigation menu so that I have an easy way to sign up beyond the footer, the checkout. I want to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to sign up. So you can customize this form as well as when they unsubscribe, what they see here with the unsubscribe text back on your site. To do that, you're just going to come back into the form itself, and go to the edit language section. So there we go. There's the newsletter page landing form and the unsubscribe landing page form. So you can just go ahead and put the translation over here on the other hand side. It takes a little bit of time, but once you have that set up, it's set it and forget it. You won't have to go back and repeat that again. I'm going to pause here at this moment just to see if you guys have any questions on anything before we get into customizing the newsletters and automations. Again, if you do have questions, please put those in the Q&A. They're much easier for me to keep track of there than the chat. So please go ahead and answer any, or put in any questions if you have those. I do see that we have one question that came through the chat. Can we not send emails to lists that were imported and did not subscribe? Seguno is explicitly a permission-based marketing platform. So we're only sending marketing emails, meaning that we're only sending them to people that opted in to follow with email regulations. If you need to send to non-subscribed folks, there may be some other platforms that will allow you to send a account invitation or another way, but for us, we are only sending to people that have explicitly subscribed to receive your marketing emails. All right, don't see a lot of other questions here. So give me 1 second and let's go ahead and take a quick look. All right, so now shifting from the account setup and our integration to Shopify, let's talk a little bit more about how you're actually going to be able to message out to these subscribers. So we have two main email methods that we're going to use. That's going to be our newsletters here. And the newsletters are going to be the broadcast emails that you determine the content, and then you determine the timing and the recipients for that. So you build out that big email. That's what you're used to getting in your inbox most of the time. The automations, though, are going to be those triggers that you can set up. So we're going to send the appropriate content, the content that you create, but only to the subscribers when they trigger that particular action. So this is very relevant, very timely. It's going to be a lower volume overall, but you're going to see a much higher engagement rate and conversion rate from these than you would with your newsletters. In terms of which ones to use, you want to have the appropriate automation set up to try to nurture your shoppers and turn them into loyal customers. So for instance, I definitely want to have the welcome series set up and the abandoned checkout set up, but then you can build out as many other automations as you're interested in as well. As long as the messaging is relevant and is not overwhelming to them, think about how that's going to enhance their customer lifecycle with you. Then along with those automations, you want to use your newsletters to keep in touch. Maybe once a week or once every other week, depending on what's appropriate for you. If you have more news and information and new products all the time, you might send multiple times a week. But these are going to help generate those spikes of interest for your subscribers. And just keep in mind that you really don't want to oversend to the subscribers, or you're more likely to create contact fatigue, burnout, and then eventually they're going to stop opening the messages. You're going to kind of have to churn your list over a little bit more. So in terms of how often should you send those newsletters, I typically say a couple times a week is fine for most brands, at least once every other week for all brands to keep in touch, but you really want to be careful when you start sending multiple times a day or anything any faster than that. Possibly for flash sales, but not much more. Now, both of these tools are going to use the same editor. So we're going to take a look at that editor here in context of building out a newsletter. So I'll just click create newsletter up here in the top right. And the first thing I'm going to do is give that an internal title. You might have caught on when I was looking at my newsletter menu a second ago. I like to start off with a campaign name, so it's easier for me to go back and reference the message, find it when I'm looking for reporting, or if I want to do a remail or reuse a message as basically a template or duplicate it for another message in the future. So what I'm going to do for today is I'm going to include summer sale. You can see I've done some of these other ones before. And then what I'm going to do is throw a date format on that in case I have multiple messages in the series. So I can, or in the campaign, excuse me, so that I can find which one I'm looking for. Now the subject line is pretty straightforward. This is what we're used to seeing in the inbox. So it's the bold text that's really meant to entice them to opening. So you can put something catchy, but make sure that you keep with kind of a consistent structure and convention to your subject line, and stay away from anything that's too spammy for it. So what I say too spammy is you don't want to do all caps with dollar signs and all of this extra punctuation. Think about it. You want how you would send to a friend of yours. Something else like that. So I'm just going to do something. We all need a little bit more sunshine. I like to include a couple of emojis just because it goes along with my brand being a children's clothing retailer. But you can kind of play around with that. Keep in mind that emojis are not always supported, but they are supported by almost all email clients at this point. And since most people open up on their mobile phone, they're supported there as well. Now for the preview text, if you haven't used this before, this is a best practice to try to build a little bit more on the interest and why they would want to open up the message. So what happens to the preview text is it's kind of a continuation before they start reading the message. So it's that first line that we see here, where if I say, welcome to your family, my preview text is, we're so happy you're here, your personal discount code is inside. So I'm talking a little bit more about why they want to open the message, calling out clearly the discount code. Or in the context of some of these other ones, I'm going to talk more about email marketing made easy. I'll talk a little bit more about the features. So for you guys, I would talk about a flash sale or a promotion or new product, any of those details along that line. So I'm going to say we all need a little bit more sunshine, and let's say get ready for some summer fun with a limited time sale on my favorite summer collections. So I just want to, again, build a little bit more interest that way. Now, in terms of the template, every message that you build out in Seguno is going to start with what we'll call your shared theme or your template, where we're going to have your primary colors set up, your font, spacing, a lot of those kind of design details, but also your header and your footer. So you're not going to start with a completely blank template. And then in order to send the message, you'll just add additional content as you work through. The other templates that we have available actually have that body pre-built for you to try to make it even easier and even faster to send out a newsletter. So I'm going to use the featured product one, talking about some of those favorite summertime products. I'll just select my product here, and then it's going to pull up all of my available products from the catalog. And I just scroll down until I find the one that I'm interested in. In this case, it's going to be the striped dress. I'll check that box and add it. And then Seguno will go ahead and build a template kind of around that striped dress featuring that product. You can play around with the other ones. Featured collection will just pull in multiple products from the collection, or a collection list lets you pull in different, whether it be the dresses and the tees, jackets, or you can even use the blog post, which will look at your Shopify blog post and allow you to pull that content directly into the newsletter. That's only for the Shopify blog post that's in your sales channel under online stores. If you're maintaining your own blog on a WordPress site or something like that, then we won't be able to automatically pull that in. You'll just kind of copy and paste that over and link back to that site. Now for the discount section, I did mention earlier on that we do integrate with the discount section to pull in any active discount codes and the price rules. So if I've got a summer sale code that's already set up, I can go ahead and pull that one directly in. There we go. We see that it's valid and that it's a percentage discount for 25% off. Now, in this case, we're going to include summer sale in the email template that we build out, and everyone can go ahead and enter that code, or we'll automatically apply it when they click through. If you're worried about that summer sale discount code leaking out beyond your loyal shoppers, what you can do is actually generate a unique code, and we'll generate a 6-digit code for each person that will roll up under the same price rules as the summer sale, but then they're not going to see that discount rule overall. They're just going to see their own unique version. So let's go ahead and click create newsletter here and see what that template takes a look like. So here we go. I went ahead and I've already done a lot of customization of my theme. So you can see that I've pulled in a lot of my primary colors, but I've got my header, I've got the body of the message where I have some rich text that talks somewhat generically about a featured product. There's my striped dress with some easy call to actions on that, highlighting the product image, pricing. Again, easy call to actions to add to cart, the view product. And then we've included my trending products or my best sellers, which Seguno automatically figures out based on the orders and the products available. I've got my discount called out right here across the top with the discount rules, and then also noting any additional terms down here across the bottom before I get to my footer, which is just going to have all the ways that they can contact me this way. So I've got a pretty good newsletter. I could feel pretty good about sending this out to people, especially if I've played around with the colors a little bit more. But there's a lot more that you can do in terms of the customization. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to click customize up here in the top right. And then the editor is going to look a lot like what you're used to seeing with your Shopify theme. So I'm going to start off with my theme settings over here. And this is all of that set it and forget it for kind of the shared theme that I was mentioning. So here I'm going to be able to go through and select all of the default colors for the different sections that I have. So if I want to play around with my navigation menu, and instead of having that coral, I might move to kind of a darker blue-green here, I can go ahead and do that. Play around with the colors, figure out the way that you want the design set up. You can select any hex code that you have, or if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that you have some online store colors available, so that we'll go ahead and pull those hex codes in for you, and you can just select from those colors already. Keep working your way down through here. If there are any sections that you're not quite sure about, you might need to come back and reference them later on. But just think about how you might want to have a decent amount of variety, but again, still very similar to what they would expect on your site. So just kind of going for a branded consistency that way. In terms of the typography, what we're looking for in the font here are all of your web-safe fonts. So when I say web-safe, it means that it is going to be supported by all email clients. Unfortunately, custom fonts look fantastic, but they are largely unsupported by any Outlook client and several other legacy clients. So that means that while your emojis might not be seen by a very small amount of people, your custom fonts definitely will not be seen by a significant number of people. So the web-safe fonts are the ones that we know are going to work, and that way what you have designed over here is going to be what you send to the inbox for your subscribers. Select a web-safe font here, so you can find whichever one's closest to you. And then if there's an occasion where you really need to use your custom font for a banner or something like that, like I did with my logo, you just build that into an image, and then you can still pull it in for a hero image, but have your supporting text be a safe font for that. Button structure in social media. Buttons and structure just a little bit more for styling if you have rounded buttons or square. Structure refers to the padding or the spacing between the different sections that you have. And then social media is just so that you can go ahead and link people over to your social accounts. Make sure that when you set up your social media, you link to your actual feed and don't invite me to go to your login page. That's one of the most common mistakes I see on Shopify stores and in people's emails, is that I'll click on their Instagram feed and I'll be invited to log into their Instagram account. So just make sure that you do have that set up to go to your feed and not to your login screen for it. Once we get all that set, I'm gonna go ahead and hit save here. And then let's go back to the sections and briefly talk about those other two kind of shared theme sections. That's your header and your footer. So with the header, what we want to do is have a pre-header text, which is just kind of a continuation right here up across the top. So if my preview text is too short, the pre-header text will kind of fill in for it. For my pre-header text, I like to use my company tagline. It's not entirely required. You can put different things in here like thank you for being a subscriber, and other ways that it's very clear that, hey, they're receiving this message because they gave you explicit opt-in. Again, you want to make sure that you stick around with those explicit opt-in contacts, because if you're sending to people that don't know how they subscribed or they didn't subscribe, you are going to be reported as spam, and then you will most likely not get to any of your email clients, not just the folks that report you as spam that way. For the logo, there's a couple different layouts, and then also you can build a navigation menu down here below. So I've just got my favorite collections right here across the top, again, building continuity with my site. One thing to keep in mind when you're designing this is that we do think of a mobile-friendly design. And what I mean by that is when you go to a smaller screen, we don't want the primary content of the message to be way down below what we'll call below the scroll, so not showing up on that first part of the email. So what we'll end up doing is when you move to a mobile screen on this one, we're going to get rid of your social icons and move a lot of this content down to the bottom of the message. You can see that preview just by selecting right up here. Notice that my navigation menu disappeared, social icons disappeared. I went to a centered logo here, and I'm still calling out my discount rules and then also getting into the body of the message really quickly. And then down here across the bottom, there we go. I've got my familiar navigation menu where you would expect it to see it in a mobile experience. And then my social icons wrapping up down across the bottom. So play around with that. Again, keep in mind that mobile is incredibly important. Most email designers advocate for a mobile-first design rather than a mobile-friendly design, since more than half of people open emails on mobile screens at this point. Down in my footer, what I want to do is most likely link to any company policies I have. So if I have a return policy, discount policy, privacy policy, I might just link to those from the site and keep it kind of short and sweet down there. I don't need to put a big wall of disclaimer text. Just link them back to the site where they can see those in their entirety. And then, like I mentioned, make it easy for people to get in touch with you so you can have the info at or your reply email and your customer service call link right down there. If you're not a fan of having the unsubscribe link in the header, you will need to authenticate your domain for that. Keep in mind, though, that the unsubscribe link in the header actually does get you bonus points with Gmail, and they are more likely to put your message in the promotions folder than the spam folder, or even in the inbox if you have a great reputation with that recipient. So keep in mind that that is not a horrible thing to have up there. It actually does help with inbox placement for a lot of folks. And then down in the footer, if you don't want to have the Powered by Seguno, that's fine. You'll just need to be on one of our paid plans rather than the free plan for that one. We'll get those updated. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And now let's talk a little bit more about building out the body of the message. So with the sections, we're just going to have them laid out with kind of drag and drop, just the same way that you built out your theme. So you can kind of reorganize things, play with different designs as you go through. Select any of those if you want to tweak them a little bit more. So maybe I'm going to change out my header instead of something special for you. I'm going to say, let's play dress up. And then I can tweak the body of the message right there. So really easy just for me to be able to go ahead, play around with those. If I want to have a centered text for my primary text or left aligned, right aligned, whatever I want to do, I can go ahead and set that up. Now, when I get into the featured product section, right now I've just got my one striped dress that I selected. If I want to add additional featured products, let's just go ahead and select that. And you'll see all of the available attributes that we can pull from the product feed or from the product catalog and put those into your message. So if you have the Shopify product reviews app and the star ratings, you can go ahead and check that one. And then I'll be able to pull that star rating directly in there. Again, that's only available if you're on the Shopify product reviews app. Or I can put in some other details, whether it's the compare at price, if I'm selling them on other things. Notice that the strike-through prices that I have here are actually based on the discount codes. So we went ahead and showed them how much that product is going to be based on that 25% off discount code you're offering to them. So you can include that if you like, or we can hide those. Different call to actions. When you're thinking about the descriptions, make sure that you check and make sure that the description is what we'll call email friendly. That's not too long and it doesn't create a wall of text within your message. The point of the email is to get more interest and then take them back to the site where they can actually make a purchase and convert. So you don't need to have all of the details in the email. You just want to have enough to pique their interest and get them back that way. Down below in the content section, I can actually add additional featured products too. So instead of just my striped dress, I have a floral romper that I want to include. So here we go. We'll select the product. There's my floral romper. I'll include that one. And we'll go ahead and stagger the design so it doesn't just look like a row of pictures on one side. We'll kind of offset them that way. But then when you go to mobile, what we'll do is stack them over the appropriate buttons. So there we go, striped dress details under the image, and the same thing for the floral jumper. So really easy for me to make some really nice looking emails that way. In terms of the featured collection, we do have those trending products that we have laid out. And we're using the Seguno collection that we built out automatically. Again, that's based on the best selling products that are in stock and have a positive price. If you want to change that out, that's fine. Any other collection that you've already built out, we can go ahead and select that. So maybe I'm going to work on my tees here, and I'll just update this one real quick. And we'll go ahead and make sure that those tees are in stock, play around with the layout a little bit more, include my product ratings on these, anything that I want to do just to go ahead and update it. Now, there's some easy enhancements that you can do to this one. Rather than just have the rich text, what I'm going to do is I like to pull in more lifestyle images for this. So I'm going to add a section here, and then we have all the different sections organized by type. So take a moment, play around with these a little bit more. The one that I'm going to use right now is going to be my image with text overlay. So what I'll be able to do is select basically a background image, and then instead of having let's play dress up here just on a white background, I'm going to put that on an image of actually wearing the dress. So we'll scroll through all the different images that I have available. Let me see if I can find the one I'm looking for. There we go. So I've got that brick backdrop wearing the dress or modeling the dress there. And then I'm going to put my text overlay here. Let's play dress up. And whenever you add a new section, don't worry, it hasn't disappeared. It just starts out down across the bottom, and then we're going to scroll on that on up to the top. So I'm going to get rid of the body of the text. I can go ahead and link it to the product if I want here and include a button or not. So if I want to go back to that dress and link to that one, I just come to the site. I'll copy that URL, go back in and paste that into the button link. And that will link both a button if I include it, or it will just link the entire image that we have here. So from there, I'm just going to drag that right on up to the top. There we go. Let's play dress up. And I'm going to play around with the design a little bit more. I don't want it to overlay on the actual dress itself. So I'm just going to move that vertical or to top right alignment that way. So really easily, I was able to dress up that email just with one simple image. We can keep playing on that a little bit more if you want to. So there are a ton of different sections that you can use to create more urgency or have stronger call to actions as you're going through that. What I'm going to use here is the discount call out. So rather than have just the discount code casually mentioned here across the top, I'm going to create a really strong, what I call kind of a clipper style call to action here. So we'll include that discount call out. And now I've got this strong call to action, shop now with discount code. I can put more details in the text section here if I want to. So if I have a return policy, I want to highlight anything else so that they don't have any concerns about making the purchase. It's a great, easy way for me to talk them into that. Go ahead and drag that one right down below the featured products, just above the shop tees, and then I'm able to pull that one in. There's a ton of different sections that you can also pull in. Take a look at the text section. If you want to include more call to actions, clear call to actions, take a look at the button sections. Text columns, the images, so you can have multiple kind of header images with supporting text down below. Play around with this one and definitely take a look at your own inbox, decide what designs you like, and then try to come back and recreate those for your own shop in your in Seguno. So nice way to kind of get a little bit more design inspiration that way. If you're looking for more inspiration, there's also a lot of great resources out there. One site that I really like to look at, reallygoodemails.com, actually is kind of a catch-all for lots of great emails from all sorts of different providers, different shop types. So you can kind of play around with different things and different layouts that people played with here. So once I get that one set, the next thing I want to do before I actually schedule that out, I do want to double check desktop and mobile, make sure that works great. So I'm not super crazy about the fact that it covers up the smile here, but I can still see kind of my smirk within that one. I might play around with my different text so that I don't cover that one up. Another thing I might do is just make the image a little bit larger or the text a little bit smaller so that I don't cover up that kind of mischievous smile here. There we go. Let's play dress up. I've still got my mischievous smile that way. So you can play around with the design a little bit more as you're working through. Then you want to send that off as a test send. So under the action sections over here, you're going to go and click send test email. That's going to go off to your trusted advisors who are going to click on all the links, proofread everything for you, and go ahead and check that on their desktop and mobile devices. If you want more specific feedback, you can request feedback and I'll bring up a little pop-up modal so that you can put whatever question you have. So, hey, what do you think about the discount call out? Or what do you think about this image? Anything along those lines, and get more specific and direct feedback that way. We'll always make sure that we click save up here. We will save drafts for you. So if you lose the site or anything, don't worry about that. When you open it back up, we'll ask you if you want to reload your last changes, but always click save just to be sure. Now let's go back to the newsletter and get ready to schedule this one out. So when I come back here, we're primarily going to be focused on the settings panel over on the right-hand side. First thing I want to do is double check my discount code so I can see that I have 25% off using the summer sale. I can select that one right there. I can see that I'm generating that unique code for each person. So rather than see summer sale for everybody, what they see is this KP5DN7. Just a quick note, if you're sending yourself test emails, we are not using a real discount code at that point. It's just a placeholder, so don't worry, they will work when they are actually sent and applied. Next thing I'm going to do is check on my recipients. Do I want to send this to everyone that accepts email marketing and has given me opt-in permission, or do I only want to send to certain groups? So I'll select edit from here. Let's select those specific groups, and here are all of my saved searches that I had from the customers. So there's everyone who's purchased in the last week, everyone that I met at the pop-up shops, my awesome friends and family, my VIP, whoever else I want to send. And don't worry if there's overlap between these groups, we will deduplicate it. So I'm not going to send 4 copies of an email to one person. They're only going to get 1 copy of that. And then if I want to exclude anybody else, such as if I have a wholesaler group or maybe some folks that are really not engaged, I only send to them during specific sales and holidays, I can go ahead and exclude those as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and block my wholesalers that way. Go ahead and save that one. And then for scheduling right here, right above it, we can either send it right away so that we'll get it out as quickly as possible, or you can click edit up here if you want to schedule this one to go out into the future. So if you have some favorite times of day that you like to send your newsletters, whether that's early in the morning, around lunchtime, or in the evening, you can go ahead and schedule that one out. So let's go ahead and say, great, I'm sending this one tomorrow morning, and we'll go ahead and do an 8 o'clock delivery for me. If at any point between now and 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I want to cancel that, all I need to do is click pause. And then when I go and click resume, I'll be invited to reschedule it at that point. Or I can just go ahead and send it out right away. So really easy to do that. Once an email has been sent, it is not reversible. So if it's sending out the door right away, we are not able to stop that sending. It is in the pipeline. It is out to the recipients at that point. So think about if you want to make any edits, don't bother scheduling that ahead of time, just so that you don't forget about it, forget to make those edits. Awesome. So really easily, we're able to build out a great newsletter. We've got our shared theme, so it's going to be a lot faster, a lot easier for me in the future. And I've got my specific recipients and my scheduling just for what I like. So now let's shift gears a little bit more. We're going to go back and talk about those automations. As a reminder, those automations are those triggers. So I'm going to control the content, but what happens is I'm depending on my subscribers to take a particular action so that the message is relevant for them, and then the timing is going to be based on when they take that action. For everybody here, I want to make sure that you guys do set some goals to have the welcome automation and the abandon checkout automation set up and most likely turned into a series as kind of one of your top priorities for your email program. These are going to be the top 2 ROI series, so you're going to get the most conversions, the most interest on those ones. And the welcome series in particular is really important because it generates a lot of loyalty and trust with the potential customer or the prospective shopper, I should say, and to turn them into a potential customer. So let's take a look at this one to start with. And when you're looking at the automations, this one's already built out. So I've got a couple of different messages in what we'll call the series here. But each automation is going to start with what we'll call the trigger or the start card. So it's just going to outline that criteria. So this one sends, or it starts for the subscriber right after they're first subscribing, as long as the store is live and they don't have any exclusion tags, which I can define over here. So for my exclusion tags, if I have that wholesale tag, it just means that they're not going to go ahead and start the series. If they have that wholesale tag applied to them while they're already in the series, what we'll do is actually end the series for them right away. Down below, we have the individual message cards. So I have my first message here, and for the timing on that one, I have it to send immediately. You can control that on a per message basis. So rather than send immediately, I could say, you know what, I'm gonna give them a little bit more time. Maybe I wanna send my welcome message one day after in that way. So I definitely don't wanna do this because I'm offering them a discount code to sign up. So I wanna get them that code as quickly as possible and hopefully help them to go ahead and make their first purchase. Then timing for subsequent cards is based on when they leave the previous one. So this one's going to send immediately, then they'll come back down the pipeline, they'll wait one day, and then they'll receive that next message. They'll come back down the pipeline, they'll wait 3 days, and then they'll receive the third and final message. If you're wondering how many people are waiting to receive the next message, we've got the count over here. So right now I have 2 test contacts that are waiting in that 3-day period to go ahead and receive the message that way. You can toggle the messages on and off individually here just by flipping the switch. So if you're trying to play around with different strategies, or if you're still working on design, you can go ahead and create the message just by clicking add email, leave it toggled off, and then go ahead and make some updates to that. Whenever you add an email, we're just going to copy the most recent one that you have so that your layout's already laid out and you can make those updates nice and easily. Down at the bottom, we have the end card. So how are they actually going to fall off of the automation? So this one ends when the exclusion tag is applied, like I mentioned with my wholesale, or if they have sent all emails. In some automations, you may also want to end the automation as soon as they make a purchase. So for instance, if my welcome series, if the intention is not just to welcome them to the brand, but I'm going to offer them a discount code at maybe a little bit further on down the series, what I can do is actually select edit here. And then all I need to do is check that box. And then whenever they place an email or place an order, they'll drop from the series. So they don't get my discount code unless they haven't made the order. It's just different strategies and kind of depends on what your intention is when you're building that one out. For this one, think about with a welcome series that really one of the primary content or primary purposes that you want is to introduce your brand. So that's why I have 3 different messages here. One of them is just sent immediately. Let's go ahead and take a quick preview of that. With this one, I'm really just calling out more about my brand background and what they can expect from me. So trying to introduce the brand, that's why I'm sending it immediately. The second message is going to be building a little bit more trust. So I'm going to tell them a little bit more about what to expect in their inbox, talk a little bit more about my policies, different ways they can keep in touch with me on social. And then finally, the third message for me is going to be more of a push to make a purchase or a push for conversion. So for this one, I'm talking more about my products, highlighting some customer testimonials. Really easy for me to build these out just using awesome reviews that I already have. So it's a nice strategy to have multiple messages in there. If you're not ready for all that content yet, that's fine. Just get that immediate confirmation there so that at least people know what to expect in their inbox. And then you can always go back and build out the messages as you have that content ready later on. To activate it, all we have to do is toggle that one on right across the top. And then everyone that subscribes on my site from this point forward, they'll go ahead and get started down the series with that first message. The other one I'm going to invite you guys to go ahead and set up is the abandoned checkout. So this one's also really important because what we're going to do with the abandoned checkout is rebuild their cart for them in case they left their desktop so that it's easy for them to go back and make a conversion on their mobile or vice versa. So a little bit more about that in kind of the background. When you build out a cart, it's tied to the device that you're on. So for a lot of people, they may abandon a checkout just because they have to get up off the couch and go run an errand, or somebody's distracting them, or they don't have their credit card for them. So sending these reminders is really important because we'll rebuild the cart and we're gonna give them a nice, easy call to action to just go back and finish the checkout for them. So in this one, the primary content is gonna be more about the cart contents that we have here. This is also a really good one to send basically the same message with just little enhancements again and again. So just giving them a little bit more time through different ones, and then potentially adding in a discount code as I'm working through that. So all I need to do is just go ahead and click add message here. And then I'm gonna give them 1 day between the initial reminder and the subsequent message. I can easily go back and view that one, and then I can apply a discount code if I want. So I'll just go ahead and apply that abandoned code. And then I can offer that to everybody or only my new first-time purchasers. And I can even expire that code for them. So just by including that, great, we'll go ahead and put that discount code call out directly into the message content. Then I can go back to the automation. I can even build another one out here. So this one, I'm gonna give them a little bit longer just because I don't wanna pepper them and offer them discounts all the time. So this one I'm gonna kick out to maybe be a week later or at least 3 days later, just so that they're not always expecting me to give them a discount code that way. So some different strategies that you can kind of play around with. And then as you're working on those, you can leave those in the toggled off position. And then whenever you're ready to deploy the additional messages, all you need to do, go ahead and toggle those on. And then you'll be able to make that update and activate it here. So really easy for me to be able to build those out. In terms of the other automations, there's some great ones to take a look at. If your store is not yet live, we do have the coming soon automation, which works with your password protected page in a very similar manner to your welcome. So this would be great thanks for signing up. Let them know a little bit more about your timeline, what they can expect from your store when it does go live. But then you'll go ahead and keep sending them newsletters periodically just to kind of check in, make sure that they're still interested that way. In the commerce activity, which is mostly based on order history, we're able to do new, repeat, and lapsed purchaser messages. So what we're doing there is telling them a little bit more about, hey, thank you for making that purchase. Here's what you can expect from us. If you have any issues, how to reach out. Repeat purchasers more along the lines of kind of a VIP experience. So thank you so much for being a loyal shopper. You can put in some discount codes in different places if you want to continue to get them to repeat. And then lapsed purchaser is fantastic for anybody that has a limited supply. So if you're selling something where you know it's a consumable product, they're going to end up needing more in 30 days or 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is. Why not send them a reminder 5 or 10 days before that and just try to get them to make that purchase at that point. So really nice to again, try to keep the interest that way. If you have any custom automations needed, take a look at the tag triggered automations. You can build out any series that you're interested in based on applying a tag to the customer record. So you can either apply that tag manually, or you can use something like a smart tags or another application that will automatically apply those tags for you. And then we can automatically follow up with that series from there. All right, guys, I haven't seen a lot of questions on any of the newsletters or the automations, so I'm going to pause for a moment if you guys do have any questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up with reporting here in just a moment. All right, no questions. I'll just assume that I'm doing a great job explaining everything for you guys. Or hopefully you're actually in here playing around on your own. You're seeing a lot of this, not just for the first time. So for reporting, let's go ahead and take a look at what that's going to look like for you guys. As I mentioned, we are going to feed all of these events over to Shopify, so they'll be in line with your marketing events. So when you go into your marketing events, if you scroll down to the bottom over here, you can see all the activity stream, as well as all the sales and the sessions from that. So you can see them right alongside any other marketing events that you have and that you're creating that way. Of course, it's very easy to also stay in Seguno, find the newsletter that you're interested in, and then just select that from the list. So I'm gonna go back and look at my Black Friday, Cyber Monday message, just because I have a little bit more data in that one. And then right here across the top, the first thing I'm gonna see is, instead of just the revenue, I'm actually gonna see the engagement. How effective am I with actually getting to my subscribers and catching their interest? Do they wanna receive the messages? For the delivery rate, we're looking at how many valid addresses are we sending to versus how many bounce. So it could be an invalid address or a message that is deferred due to spammy content or not welcomed by the domain at that particular time for any reason. So we've got that delivery rate right there across the top. A good clean list that's sent to you normally, and you have a welcome series, you should expect a delivery rate kind of in the 99 to 100% range. If it starts falling down before that, that means that you're bringing in a lot of invalid addresses. So just keep your eye out for that. For the open rate, how many are actually opening, and then also how many are clicking. So out of how many were delivered, opens and clicks, pretty straightforward. That way, opens more about, hey, they're interested in your subject line, the preview text is doing great, or they just love your brand. Click rate is going to be tied into how many clear call to actions you have. Are you offering any value within the email that tries to bring them back to the site? So different ways that you can kind of interpret that for your strategy. If you want to see the people that are actually taking these actions, select that just down below with the count. So I can see the 4 people that opened my message and how often they've opened as a subscriber overall. I can actually select them from this list, and then we'll take them to that subscriber overview. So from here, I actually get a full timeline of how they've engaged with my email. I can see all the different messages that I've sent them, how often they've opened them, any orders that they've placed. I can come over and see if they have any valid discount codes, so that if they reach out to me for customer support and they say, hey, I got that email, I know you offered me 20% off, but I don't know what the code is, you can actually just jump into your Shopify admin, and you can either find in the email, or you can go to the customers, find them from the customer list here, and then under more actions, you can view subscriber profile that way. So there we go. I've got my discount code. I can share that with them, and they can go ahead and use that code. Again, I was able to access that by looking at just a count from the newsletter overview, or by going to the customers table, finding a customer that I'm interested in or a subscriber I'm interested in, going to more actions, viewing that subscriber timeline. So here's all the background for them and kind of their overview as a subscriber. Now for automations, automations will be in the marketing stream. Unfortunately, because automations get sent out individually, they tend to get kind of hidden further back in the marketing stream. So for these ones, it's really best to look at those by going to the automation section to view that rather than going to the marketing trying to find them there. And the reason for that, again, is just because when you first turn the automation on, that's when the marketing event starts. So if you have a welcome series that's been running for 3 or 4 years, then it's gonna be way back in that stream, harder to find. There's a couple levels to the email engagement for the automation. So right here across the top, we have overview or kind of an aggregate of all of the subsequent messages. So I have 4 total deliveries, 4 total opens, 2 total clicks. But notice down below, that's actually going to be the aggregate of I have 2 deliveries for this first message, 2 opens, 1 click, and then it's going to combine with the next message as well. So over here across the top, it's total engagement generated by this series overall. And then if I click on the individual messages, I can see the engagement for each individual one there. If I do the view report up here at the top, that's going to take us to the aggregate of all of the events that Shopify creates, or that we create for Shopify. So over here, I may be able to see all the different orders that they're placed. Excuse me, it looks like that just timed out. Let me try again. All the different orders that were placed, first-time shoppers, all the revenue that was produced by my welcome series overall. I'll be able to see it that way. Let me see if I can just find it here. It looks like I've got an issue on my demo account. That's the fun part of having the demos there. So just find that one. You can see here's my other point that it's a little bit harder to get back to find that welcome series further on. So you kind of have to scroll way back in order to find those ones that we have. So again, best way to find that, go into the app section, automation, find the one that you're interested in, and let me try a different one just to see if that was my issue. And then click view report up here. And there we go. You can see the sessions that we have, total number of products, first time purchasers, everything like that. Guys, that's everything that I have for today. So if you have any other questions, please do let me know. I'm happy to stick around as long as you guys have questions, whether it's on these topics or anything else. For a lot of you guys, it looks like you just installed recently. So I do want to remind you that we do have live chat available 9 to 5 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. So that's with Seguno employees. We're happy to spend some time talking with you, understand your issue, and try to get you the best question or the best answer for your question. We will send out that recording for you guys, so keep an eye out for that one. And then finally, if you're having a good time and enjoy using Seguno, we do really appreciate if you give us any of those app reviews on the Shopify App Store. It really goes a long way for us as a business, so we certainly appreciate those as well. If you guys don't have any questions, I hope you have a great rest of your morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. And again, feel free to contact us anytime in support. All right, guys, have a great one.